Okay, so today we're going to be talking about other lymphoid organs. This is Anatomy and Physiology. We're in Chapter 12 talking about the lymphatic system and body defenses. All right, so lymphoid organs. So these are some of the lymphoid organs. You have your lymph nodes, which are found all over. Your spleen is actually a lymphoid organ. The thymus, located right here. Here's your spleen. Tonsils are lymphoid organs. Oops, I guess I put tonsils twice. Peyer's patches, we're going to talk about more what that is. Your appendix of the intestine. And bits of lymphoid tissue scattered in the epithelial and connective tissues. These are all lymphoid organs. And they all have a role in protecting our body, but only the lymph nodes filter lymph. Your spleen is the first thing we're going to talk about. Here's your stomach. Your spleen's kind of like on the left side of the abdominal cavity beneath the diaphragm. It's a soft, blood-rich organ that filters blood. It filters bacteria, viruses, and other debris, and it provides a site for lymphocyte proliferation and also immune surveillance. And its most important function is to destroy worn-out red blood cells and return some of their breakdown products to the liver. Remember, a few chapters ago, we talked about this, that iron is used again for making hemoglobin, and the rest of the hemoglobin molecule is secreted in bile. Other functions of the spleen include storing platelets and acting as a blood reservoir. And during hemorrhage, so when you're bleeding out, the spleen contracts and empties their contained blood into the circulation to help bring the blood volume back to normal levels. Your thymus is right here. So these are your lungs here, kind of sit right in between here. Here's the heart. So above the heart, right in between the lungs. It produces hormones, and we talked about this a few chapters ago as well, thymosin and others that function in the programming of certain lymphocytes so that they can carry out their protective roles in the body. And it functions at peak levels during youth. Your tonsils are also lymphoid organs, and they're in your throat area, kind of in your the back of your throat here. And they're found in the mucosa. And their job is to trap and remove any bacteria or other foreign pathogens entering the throat. And some of you may have had this already, but they do their job so well that oftentimes they become congested with bacteria, and they can become red and swollen and sore, and that is called a tonsillitis. So they kind of look like this, kind of gross, but Peyer's patches. Peyer's patches resemble tonsils, and they're actually found in the wall of the distal part of the small intestine. So they look like this. Your appendix is a tube-like offshoot of the first part of the large intestine. And macrophages of Peyer patches and the appendix are in an ideal position to capture and destroy bacteria, thereby preventing them from penetrating the intestinal wall. It's very important. MALT, or mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue, is a collection of small lymphoid tissues, including Peyer's patches, the appendix, and the tonsils, that collectively act as a sentinel to protect the upper respiratory and digestive tracts from the never-ending attacks of foreign matter entering those cavities. So these guys have a pretty big job to do. All right, here's some questions. In which three regions of the body are the lymph nodes most dense? This might be going back to the previous lecture, but particularly large collections of lymph nodes occur in the axillary, inguinal, and cervical regions. So your armpit area, your groin, and your neck region. What anatomical characteristic ensures that lymph flows through the lymph nodes slowly? So this is the number of afferent lymphatic vessels entering the node is greater than the number of efferent vessels leaving the node at the hilum. Therefore, lymph flow stagnates somewhat. Which lymphoid organ gets rid of aged red blood cells? And that is the spleen. And what is MALT? MALT is the lymphoid tissue associated with the mucosa, so tonsils in the throat, Peyer's patches in the intestinal walls, which act to prevent pathogens from entering the body through the mucosa. All right, so we're going to get into some body defenses. Every second of every day, an army of hostile bacteria, viruses, and fungi swarms on our skin and invades our inner passageways. Yet, most of the time, we stay pretty healthy. And that's thanks to our body's defense system. And there's two different defense systems. One is the innate defense system, the other is the adaptive defense system. And together, they make up the immune system. Your innate defense system responds immediately to protect the body from foreign substances. This reduces the workload of the adaptive defense system by preventing entry and spread of microorganisms throughout the body. But the adaptive defense system mounts the attack against particular foreign substances, so kind of if they get through. The immune system is actually a functional system rather than an organ system. Its structures are molecules, trillions of immune cells that inhabit lymphoid tissues and organs and circulate in body fluids. The most important immune cells are lymphocytes, dendritic cells, and macrophages. And when it's operating effectively, it protects us from most bacteria, viruses, transplanted organs or grafts, and our own cells that have turned against us, like cancer cells. It does this directly by cell attack and indirectly by releasing chemicals. And the resulting resistance to disease is called immunity, which you guys are probably familiar with. So the adaptive system must first meet or be primed by an initial exposure to a foreign substance, an antigen. So an antigen is a foreign substance to your body before it can protect the body against the invader. So it has to have that initial exposure. All right, here's another question for you. How do the innate and adaptive defenses differ? The innate defenses are nonspecific and always ready to protect the body. They include intact membranes like mucosa and skin, the inflammatory response, and several protective cell types and chemicals. Adaptive defenses must be programmed and specifically target particular pathogens or antigens. That is all we're going to cover today. Hope you guys have a good day.